Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Mel and today we're doing an unhaul. So I have 62 books to unhaul for you guys today. 62 books. Explain to me why I thought this was a good idea. So you remember my bookshelf reorganization that I did a few weeks ago? I did a live show with all of my Patreons and they helped me decide what I was going to keep and put back on my shelves and what was going to go and be unhauled. And apparently there were 62 books that they convinced me to get off of my shelves, which is good. I needed a good clean out, especially a lot of these books, if I decide that I want them again in the future, are easily rebought or gotten from the library, which is probably what I will do. So I don't know what we're going to get started with, so I guess I'm just going to start with the smallest of the stacks. And those are the literary fiction kind of books. The first one is A Nearly Normal Family by M.T. Edwardson. Not 100% sure what this book is about. I think it is a courtroom drama about... No, this one's not the courtroom drama. This one is a psychological thriller that is forcing the reader to think about how far they would go to protect the ones they love. A father's faith, a daughter's loyalty, a mother's ethics, and the shocking murder accusation that tests a nearly normal family. So I'd heard good things about this one, but I've had it for so long that I'm just not really interested in it anymore. And my thriller tastes have changed since I picked this one up, so that's why this one is being unhauled. Also, really quick, I am going to be putting all of these on my Pango shop, which will be linked down in the description. Do note that I can't really wait to start posting these when the unhaul video gets posted, so some of them may not be there anymore if you see them on the unhaul if somebody's already bought them, and I'm really sorry about that. The best way to keep that from happening is to follow me on Pango Books, and that way you'll get alerted when I start to post new books. But there should still be plenty of these left by the time this video goes live, so if you see one that you want, definitely go check it out and see if you can grab it. Okay, next up we have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is Taylor Jenkins Reid's, I don't even know how many books now. It is kind of a contemporary story about, I believe, a house party out in Malibu. Taylor Jenkins Reid, I really enjoyed Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and then liked Daisy Jones and the Six, and just really haven't been interested in the later books that she's put out, which is kind of sad. And I've heard that this one was really good in the beginning, but really flopped at the end, and a lot of my interest in this one has just gone away because I'm not reading this type of book anymore, and I just don't know that it's worth me trying to decide if it's something that I would love. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of it. Then we have a very small stack of romance and fantasy romance. The first is Blood of Zeus by Meredith Wilde and Angel Payne. I don't know at all what this book is about. I think it is a paranormal romance set in a university and has demons. But that's all I can tell you. This does not show up well on camera. I asked my patrons about it. A couple that had either read it or heard of it said they had not heard the best of things, even though I think it gets pretty decent reviews. So since I just wasn't super interested, I decided it's time for it to go. Then we have The Abridged Kingdom by Daniel L. Jensen. This is a fantasy romance with a pretty heavy political undertone, and I liked this book okay, but I only gave it 3 stars, and I don't think that I will ever continue in the series. And because I don't plan to continue, I don't see any reason to keep the first book in the series. And then we have a true romance, and that is The Bromance Book Club by Lyssa Kay Adams. This is the first in the Bromance Book Club series. We read this for one of our officially unofficial book club reads, and it was fun to read at the time, but it's not anything I'm ever going to reread or continue. This is about a husband that is struggling in his marriage, and his wife asks for a divorce, so he gets help from his baseball teammates, and they're all reading this historical fantasy to teach them how to woo back women. And then I'm going to be getting rid of Don't Come For Me. Don't Come For Me, these are not my type of books. Heartstopper Volumes 1 and 2. This one is a lot heftier than this one. I'm not really sure what the difference is there. This one has kind of like a green interior, whereas this one has just normal like pages, so I'm not really sure what the difference is between these two books, but everybody knows what Heartstopper is about. It's about a young boy who is gay and meets his best friend, and I think that they end up in some kind of relationship together. Read the first one, it was okay. It's just a little too cutesy. It's not my type of book. It's not my type. I'm not the target audience for this one, so I'm just going to donate these to who is the target audience. Then I guess let's do some middle grade, because that seems to be the next shortest stack sitting next to me. The first one is going to be Ship of Shadows by Maria Kuznar. This one is a pirate middle grade book, and I had a good time while reading this one, but I don't remember anything about it well enough to continue on in the series. I remember finding it just okay. It says this is a swashbuckling tale, storms and jars, magic kraken bells, lost cities, and a truly unique pirate ship. I agree with that. It was a lot of fun. If you're looking for a middle grade purely adventure story, then you might really, really enjoy this one. Then I think I must have already gotten rid of the first book in the series, but this is the second book in the Enola Holmes series. This is now a TV show. It follows the sister of Sherlock Holmes. I believe this is a young adult middle grade series, and I really, really like these covers, much more so than the new ones that they've come out with, but book one was just okay, and I'm never going to continue, so this one needs to go. Then we have one that's really going to hurt some people, and actually, I'm not going to get rid of this one. I'm changing my mind. This is 61 books now. Okay, then we have The Ghouls of Hollow Fair by Nick Tomlinson. I remember liking this just okay. I don't remember it being super, super spooky, and that was probably the one thing that I didn't like about it. It says it's a brilliantly funny and spooky mystery adventure from a fresh new voice in children's books. This one sounds like a lot of fun. I just don't remember anything about it, so I don't really feel like I need to continue it. Then we have The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Meadowstone by Jacqueline Moriarty. And when her parents die, she has to go give all of the inheritance to these eccentric aunts and uncles, and it's extremely inconvenient for this wonderful life that she's always been living. I know that Jade read this book and really, really enjoyed it. Again, I'm just not reading a lot of middle grade anymore, and so I know I'm not going to get to it anytime soon. If I do decide I want to pick it up in the future, I can, so that's why I'm getting rid of this one. Then we have The Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell. This one I had a really good time with. It is about a train that can go anywhere, and a boy is now trapped in a snow globe and a girl who's about to go on the adventure of a lifetime. It was a lot of fun. It is definitely adventurous, but it wasn't overly memorable. Not the target audience anymore. I do love me some middle grade, but I'm leaning more like spooky middle grades and then things like Amari. So even though this was good, I'm probably not ever going to continue the series, and if I do, I don't necessarily need physical copies of it. Then we have 3 more middle grades. The first one is The Thief Knot by Kate Milford. This is one of the books in the series of Green Glass Houses. I think this is just a story, so I don't know that it has to be read like before or after any certain order of Green Glass Houses. It says Miranda and her best friend Nyla are bored in a city where normal rules don't apply. It seems the adventurers should be everywhere, yet nothing exciting ever happens to them. But in a place where nothing and no one are what they appear to be, from architecture that changes overnight to substitute math teachers, it soon becomes clear that even the kidnapping might not be what it seems. There's more to unravel than just the crime, the truths being discovered about their families and themselves, if only the young detectives can puzzle it out in time. This, I believe, is a polar, wintry type of story, so if you liked Green Glass Houses and you don't have this one yet. Then we have The Eye of the North by I'm not even going to try that one. I will butcher it. This is another polar fantasy middle grade series, and I love the cover, and it kind of pains me to get rid of it because it's just so pretty, but I just didn't love this one as much as I would hope to. It says Emile planned for everything until her parents mysteriously disappear. Fearing for her life, she flees on a ship to France, where she befriends a stowaway child called the Thing. But even he can't help her escape the clutches of the villainous Dr. Bauer. In a frozen land with danger at every turn, can she and the Thing reunite in time to save the world? The race is on. This was fun. It just wasn't great, in my opinion, and so I'm getting rid of it. And then last but not least, we have Winter House by Ben Gooderson. This is another like winter mystery middle grade mystery. I had a good time with this one. I thought it was a lot of fun, but again, it just was not for me. It follows a young girl who is an orphan, and she gets a note that she needs to go to Winter House. This one was, again, kind of fun, but I just know that I won't continue, and so I decided that I didn't need to keep it. Of note, this edition is absolutely gorgeous on the naked hardcover. And it even has some really, really pretty end pages as well. Middle grade books are just so stinking pretty. Like, I have some really good covers of adult books, but they're just nowhere near the beauty that comes with a middle grade book. I guess let's move on to thrillers. The first one that I'm going to be unhauling is Imaginary Friends by Stephen Chbosky. This one is a horror thriller about a guy, I believe, that has an imaginary friend and things are haunted. Christopher is 7 years old. Christopher is the new kid. Christopher has an imaginary friend. We can swallow our fear or let our fears swallow us. I've heard really good things about the beginning of this book, and then heard about 200 pages in, it really starts to go downhill and goes completely off the rails. It is a monster of a book, and so I don't know when I will actually commit to reading it. When I do, I think I'm going to want the audiobook, and I'm not sure that I'm going to love it enough to keep a physical copy, so that's why this one is going to go. Then we have two young adult horrors. The first one is The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. I really wanted to love this one, but unfortunately it just did not work for me. This one follows Jake Livingston, who can see the dead, and so he knows now that something terrible has happened in his neighbor's house. It's getting too cold, too fast, like the entire winter is dropping. And now he wonders, is Mateo dead? So this one, like I said, it was fun. It just wasn't as good as I was hoping it was going to be. It wasn't as spooky as I was hoping it was going to be. And it is really, really short. So if you're looking for something just quick and easy to read for spooky season, then you may want to try this one. Then we have The Girls Are Never Gone by Sarah Glenn Marsh. This is a horror about a podcast and I believe a camp, if I remember correctly. Dare Chase doesn't believe in ghosts. She's a supernatural skeptic, but publicly she keeps her doubts to herself because she's the voice of the Attachments, a brand new paranormal investigation podcast. 13 years ago, teenager Atheline Bell drowned in the Arrington Lake, and the legend says that her spirit still haunts the estate. So, podcast elements, ghost possession stories. I, again, wanted to like this one a little bit more than I actually did. I don't know if it was because it was young adult and just didn't quite go there, or what the real problem was, because I don't remember it super well, to be completely honest with you. But again, if you're looking for a spooky book for October and you really like podcasts, this one may be for you. Then we have The Ghostwriter by Alessandra Tor. I remember nothing about this book, and that's why it's gonna go. She has 3 months to write the last book of her life, 3 months to confess the details of that day and how it changed everything for her. She's written 15 romance novels, 10 of which have become bestsellers, but this novel isn't a romance. It holds only the truth which she has run away from for 4 years, the truth which I have hidden from the police, my loved ones, and from the world. It's her confession. I remember nothing. Can't tell you if it was good, can't tell you if it was bad. I don't remember anything, which is why it's gonna go. Then we have Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I read this one at the beach a really long time ago, and I think I liked it okay. It's about Amber Reynolds, and there are 3 things that you should know about her. She's in a coma, her husband doesn't love her anymore, and sometimes she lies. This one was short, quick, easy read. It was my first Alice Feeney, and I do feel like Alice Feeney has just gotten better over time. This one was just generally okay, and I didn't love it. I've got some of hers that I liked a lot better, so that's why that one's gonna go. Then we have The Minders by John Mars. Do note that if you have not read The Passengers or The One, the very beginning of this book spoils those books. Very briefly, but it spoils them. If you care, don't read this one till you've read those. If you don't care, great. This one stands completely on its own. It just has 2 lines that spoil the previous books. I don't understand why. There was no reason for them to be there, but they're there. So you don't need to read those to read this one. But if you read this one, you're going to know how those end, if that makes sense. A world where information is king, computers can be hacked and files can be broken into. So the government created a unique way to save all of their secrets, and they placed them in certain individuals kind of in the back of their brain. They don't know, I think, that they're carrying all of this around. They've been completely wiped from their lives, all of their previous memories erased and put in new lives. but not everyone should be trusted, especially when they have their secrets of their own that they'll do anything to protect. This one was just okay. I liked the one better. I have not read The Passengers. I thought it was generally fine. Then we have two that I wanted to love and just didn't. The first is All's Well by Mona Awad. Mona Awad is known for having a very unique writing style and very odd books. And this one is odd. It's not as odd as Bunny, but it is odd. It follows a woman who has chronic pain and she is addicted to pills. She is also the director of All's Well, the play. And she was a previous actress that when she had a fall, like I said, really, really hurt herself and has been dealing with the aftermath of that ever since. People don't believe her that she is living in chronic pain, and so she's having to deal with the judgment of others. This one I think had decent conversations, but poorly executed. I was extremely bored. It did not have the charm that Bunny did in its weirdness. It was just a little bit strange. Our main character was less than unlikable. She was horrific. And I understand why, but to the point where it was almost impossible to read because you just kind of wanted to shake her and beat her over the head. This just bored me. It wasn't the book for me. I know some people love it, but I couldn't get behind it. Then we have For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I wanted to love this one. I really enjoyed My Lovely Wife, but since then I just have not been loving her books, and that makes me sad. This one follows a school where someone dies, a teacher dies in the break room, and everyone is kind of under suspicion. I had a decent idea of what was going on with this book in the very beginning, but I still found it enjoyable enough. It was generally okay. It wasn't the best thriller. It wasn't the worst thriller. I did see some things coming. That was okay. It was just alright. Then we have two other newer thriller releases. The first is The Silent Woods by Kimmy Cunningham Grant. This follows a mother or a daughter and a dad who are living alone in the woods because of something that happened in the dad's past many, many years ago. He loves his daughter. She's kind of used to the way that things are, but when stuff starts to happen around them, they're trying to figure out who is there and what is going on. This one I did end up DNFing because I was just bored. It's a very pretty book, and I think that the ending holds a emotional punch, but I was bored and I couldn't really get through it, and so I did DNF it. I've heard good things about this book, so it may be that I just stopped too soon, but I just don't have any interest in picking it back up, so that's why it's gonna go. And then we have Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Kismar. He's written several books with Stephen King, and it shows. This one is a very meandering, slow type story that's written almost in a textbook kind of way. It's about a guy that is writing about himself, essentially. So Richard Kismar is the main character in this book. It says, there was the bad, the unimaginable, indescribably bad, hovering above all the wonderful memories like an angry slate grain thunderstorm. It does have, like, pictures, I believe, in it, appendices, if I can find them. Yeah. So it's written kind of like a true story. The theory was good, it didn't work for me. People say that it was super, super creepy and just horrifying, and I just found it a little bit dull, so that's why it's gonna go. Then we have The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. This is a longtime favorite of many, many people. The prologue in this one is absolutely brutal, but after the prologue, I did find myself getting a little bit bored. It follows the good daughter, and something happened to her in her past that was very traumatizing, and she lost her sister. Flash forward, and now we're dealing with a school shooting. So tons and tons and tons of trigger warnings in this book. Please look those up. Karen Slaughter is known for her slaughter name, and this one is no exception. It just didn't quite live up to what I was hoping from it, so that's why this one's going. Then we have The Murder on Orient Express by Agatha Christie. If and when I decide to read Agatha Christie, probably don't need physical copies, and if I do, I want them all matched, so that's why this one's going. And then we have The Last Mrs Parish by Liv Constantine. I vaguely remember this book. It is about a woman who is fed up. She's tired of being a nobody to everyone in the exclusive town. Her relationship with her Mongol husband, Jackson, is straight out of a fairy tale. Amber's envy could eat her alive if she didn't have a plan. Amber uses Daphne's compassion to insinuate herself into their life. Amber is Daphne's closest confidant, traveling to Europe with the Parishes and their lovely young daughters, growing closer to Jackson, but a skeleton from her past may destroy everything that she's worked toward, and if it's discovered, her well-laid plans may fall to pieces. I do remember how this one ended, and I thought that the ending was clever, but the execution leading up to the ending was just a little bit dull, so that's why I'm getting rid of this one. Okay, I guess let's do some young adult fantasy then really quickly. The first one is The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bonvillino. This one came in an Illumicrate box a while back, and it's a really, really pretty edition. I think it would be really good for like a spooky season, but I know that I'm not ever going to get to it. Young adult is just not something that I'm leaning toward right now, so I just know I'm never getting to this one. It's about Tessa and Elliot who stumble upon an ancient book with a hidden secret in the tunnel beneath their school library, and they accidentally release a devil. I've heard great things about this, and I may listen to it on audiobook or something one day, but just not something that I'm going to pick up anytime soon. Then we have two that may pain people, and that is This Savage Song and The Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab. V.E. Schwab is just not an author that I have loved everything from. The A Darker Shade of Magic series was just generally okay for me. I do like her middle grade series a lot, and I did enjoy Vicious, but again, I just don't have a desire to pick up her young adult series when I already felt like A Darker Shade of Magic leaned a little bit adult or young adult, and then you make these young adult, and it's just not for me anymore. I don't enjoy a lot of the tropes. I don't enjoy a lot of the way the characters are written, so why would I read books that I am going to bash for being young adult just because I don't like young adult anymore? So those are going to go. And that's going to be why for pretty much every book in this stack. Half a King I just didn't like. This is by Joe Abercrombie, and it follows our main character who has always been half of a king because his arm was cut off, or half of a prince. Then when his father and older brother die, he now is to become king, but there are plans laid out to make sure that that does not happen, and he has to maneuver the politics. That one just bored me. I wish it hadn't, but it did. Then we have Red Queen and the Glass Sword. This is books 1 and 2 of the Red Queen series. I enjoyed Red Queen when I read it. This is an oldie, old school young adult series. I just don't have the later books in the series, and if I were to ever reread them, I would just get them from the library. I wouldn't buy them, and I don't just need books 1 and 2 on my shelves. We're about to go a little bit quicker because I've been talking for 26 minutes, and I'm tired of talking about these books. I have A Crown of Feathers by Nikki Paul Pareto. This is a young adult about firebirds, I believe. The cover is gorgeous. I've heard really, really good things about this book. Young adult, not for me. Then we have The Ember in the Ashes and the Torch of Night by Saba Tahir. These are young adult. I'm probably not going to read them anytime soon, and if I do, I don't necessarily need physical copies of them. These are the big floppy paperbacks, so I kind of hate to see that part go, but these are going to go. Then we have The Estranged Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. I've heard great things about this. It's about the daughters of Jekyll, or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Frankenstein, Moreau, so all of those different things. I've heard good things about this one. I've had it for years and I've never picked it up, so I'm not going to start now. We have A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee, which I read last year. This is kind of a witchy gothic young adult book that I enjoyed. The first half, the second half got a little bit weird, so I'm going to pass it on to somebody maybe that hasn't read it because I'm never going to reread it. Then we have The Walled City by Ryan Godden. I've used to hear this book talked about a lot and then haven't heard anything in a really long time. It's an old young adult series. Been on my TBR for years. If I haven't read it by now, I'm not gonna. We have The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet and A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. These are just kind of like a slice of life sci-fi series that I've heard good things about, but slice of life is an anti-buzzword for me, so these are gonna go. And we have A Crown's Game by Evelyn Skye. This is, I believe, a political young adult fantasy, kind of in the old school young adult vein. Again, been on my TBR for like 4 years. If I haven't read it by now, I'm not gonna. And I'm going to be unhauling the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. This is books 1, 2, and 3. I've read these. I thought they were okay. I'm never going to reread them, so they don't need to be sitting on my shelves. And then we have 2 arcs that I'm literally going to put up for like 1 cent because I'm not going to sell them, but I don't want them sitting here, and that allows me to ship them to somebody that may want them. The first is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. This is a political high fantasy book that just did not work for me. I felt like it was trying a little bit too hard, but I have heard people that absolutely loved it, so I'm going to pass it along to hopefully someone else that will love it. And an arc of The Binding by Bridget Collins. This is a beautiful arc. It's about a bookbinder and relationships. It's not a whole lot of fantasy. It's more just historical. And I liked it okay, but again, never going to reread it. So I figured I would pass along this arc. And I don't know what happened to the first book in the series. I don't know if my dad still has it or what, but I'm going to be yeeting out of my house finally books 2 and 3 of the Bone Ships trilogy. You've heard me talk about these. I don't need to talk about them anymore. I did not like them, and I'm sad, so these are gonna go. Then we have The Last Keeper by J.V. Hilliard. This was sent to me by the author, and it just did not work for me, so I'm going to try to pass it along to somebody that it will work for. This is an indie fantasy series about a prophetic prince and an elven princess and a terrifying force of evil. Will the entire realm fall to its knees? The writing style just didn't work for me, so I want to pass this along to somebody else. Then we have The Winter Garden by Alexandra Bell. I wanted to read this book, I really, really did, but when I heard it was very, very lyrical and very beautiful, I just knew it wasn't going to be the book for me, so I am going to unhaul this one. Then I have the entire Song of Albion trilogy. I've never heard of these books before. The Silver Hand, the Endless Knot, and Paradise War. I actually think it's Paradise War, Silver Hand, then the Endless Knot, but again, I don't know anything about these books. I picked them up secondhand a really, really long time ago, and I'm never going to read them. I don't know anything about them. I think they're an urban fantasy series. I'm also going to be unhauling The Starlessie by Erin Morgenstern. I wanted to read this one, but I've DNF'd The Night Circus twice. This one I've heard is even worse than The Night Circus about the weird lyrical writing, so I'm not going to put myself through that. We're unhauling this one. It makes me sad, but I'm going to unhaul The Memory of Empire by Arkandi Martine. This was gifted to me by Ash, so thank you so much, Ash, but I have tried reading this one, and it's too smart for me. This is sci-fi. It's a very complicated sci-fi set on a different world. We have 2 different worlds that are like trying to be diplomats with each other. It says it's layered, nuanced, and imaginative. A sprawling space opera debut that puts a rare new stamp on the genre. I never got to the space opera part. It was very much so politics, but because I didn't know anything about the world and it didn't explain it to me, I was very confused. So that's why I'm getting rid of this one. And then I'm going to be getting rid of one of my 3 copies of Dune, and this is just the one that I don't need. I've got the really pretty one. I don't think you can see it up there. I also have another special edition in the living room, so I just don't need 3. And I'm going to be getting rid of Road Protocol and All Systems Red. This is books 1 and 2, I believe, in the Murderbot series. I have a box set that I had recently gotten, so I just don't need 2 extras of the box set lying around. And then last but not least, I'm going to be getting rid of the Illumicrate Book of Night by Holly Black. I got the Illumicrate and the Fairy Loot, and just like the Fairy Loot better. I don't think I'm going to like this book well enough to want 2 copies, so I am going to be getting rid of this one. It is the special edition. It is beautiful with black sprayed edges. It has a really pretty end papers. This is the naked foiled hardcover, and of course it is signed. Okay, I think that's all 62 books. That was exhausting, especially on my sore throat, but we did it. It's done. If you found anything that you really, really want, then please head down to my Pango Books, linked down below, and snag a copy for yourself. Thank you guys so very much for watching this fall unhaul, I guess. I do like to try to do these at least once a season because I acquire more books than I could possibly keep, so I need to get rid of old blood to bring in new blood. Also buy more books than I have time to read, which is a problem. Let me know down in the comments if you unhaul books, and if you do, have you done one recently? Are you doing one for fall? If you want to hang out with me a little bit more, my Patreon is linked down below, as well as where you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you wanna, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!